Hey everyone, it's Brett Hornby here, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. And I am obviously in downtown Calgary, as you can see right behind me, the most iconic building in the Calgary skyline, the Calgary Tower, and I'm on the 7th Avenue, which is the LRT line, but I am standing outside Hudson's Bay, also known as the Bay, as you might have heard. Up here in Canada, North America's oldest company, and you do hear right, 355 years. Hudson's Bay Company, or now just Hudson's Bay, they also are part of the Saks of Fifth Avenue. It's closing, as you can see. Starting to see a lot of these very commonly at big box stores, store clothing. So figure I'll just do a vlogging on the go with the downtown Calgary location, Hudson's Bay building, and gotta wonder what they're gonna do with this beautiful white building here. I mean, it's 6 stories tall, but they only have 3 stories occupied now in the liquidation, and I believe the official date that they're supposed to be closing with all part of the liquidation closing process is the end of June in 2025, but signs at this particular location says 10 days. So if you include today, when I'm recording this is on Friday, May the 23rd, 2025. Well, that would take us up to Sunday, June the 1st. So that's when this particular location is going to close. There's a few more locations right now in Calgary. I know there's one in Market Mall, and the one that closest to where I spent most of my time growing up at Sunridge Mall, and then there's also one at South Center and Chinook Center, and then here downtown. I believe that's all the Bay locations that are in Calgary as of this recording and closing, and it's going to be all companies that's closing for the Hudson Bay, because they said it started liquidation back in May, or March I should say. There were 6 locations that were going to stay, but they all included, but all 6 locations were out in Toronto and Montreal. So I think what I'll try to do is I'll do a walk around, see what's left of the 3 floors in the liquidation as I get to it. But this is the landmark location, and yeah, they call this the Chicago style architecture, and it's definitely a beautiful building. It'd be a shame if it gets knocked to the ground. And then there's that church as well. So these couple buildings right here, I'm standing at the corner of Brookfield Place, which is the tallest building in Calgary right now. These couple buildings behind me are over 100 years old, and I said 355 years. North America's oldest company. It traces back to fur trading. Started in May 2nd, 1670. So yeah, do the math right. That's 355 years. So I'm gonna get out here and start walking around, and hopefully I can get some footage inside without being, yelled at or kicked out. I have seen people dump some vlogs in the store, so I'll have to work around moving subjects. But turn on the camera and let's take a look at what's still left of Hudson's Bay, or I always call it the Bay. So I'll see you inside. Well, I'm inside the store. I'm going to start off on the 3rd floor, as it's a lot quieter, as you can see around. This is how it looks final 10 days, and gotta wonder what's going to happen to this building as it closes. You just see just the decorations and the aesthetics. 11 retail. You got your typical fixtures, and you can obviously tell it's where luggage used to be, especially with the brands like Air Canada and Travel Pro and Samsonite. Of course, stores look different where everything's out of here. But this is the highest you can go inside the bay. Remember, I used to work downtown many years ago. I used to go up all 6 floors, but this is where they had the store in the store with Zellers. Don't see any more merchandise. There's a perfect look for that bear. Don't see any more Zeddy bears, but has that look on the face of pending doom. However, it might not all be doom, as Canadian Tire, actually for $30 million, they actually agreed to buy the brand, Hudson Bay brand. Not sure exactly what they're going to do with it, but at least they can, you know, stay claim to those stripes. Did see a joke picture that maybe you'll see a Motor Master battery that's white with the 4 stripes. Well, here's another thing you see in liquidation. Mannequins. Anyone want a mannequin for $400? Now, as you can tell, this is looking outside in Calgary. Mix of old and new. I mean, it's the church. Hyatt. Telesky. And then across the street, you got the old BMO building, which now has a Good Life Fitness. Remember, A&B Sound used to be in that building. The old electronics retailer. Of course, there's a good way I'm in Calgary. It's Calgary Tower. But just want to try to document what's left of the bay, or Hudson's Bay. As I'm always going to call it the bay because it was called the bay with that fancy B. But took a few pictures already in the bedding section when I get there. But you can even see some old pictures that references Chicago, because that's the architecture style of this building. To say, hopefully they have plans to, you know, keep this building. I'm sure it's valuable real estate. They're able to keep the BMO building going. Different tenants have been inside it. But here's the bedding section. Of course, you always have that old saying about if you love someone, let them sleep. Right there. Or how about this thing right here? We're not lazy. Just on energy saving mode. Or what about the last thing that we're out about it for the next 8 hours, but I guess if you want, you can buy some bedding. But this is up on the 3rd floor of the bay downtown, or at least what's left of it. I'll try to get more footage working my way down. It's definitely a lot busier as you get closer to the bottom, but obviously this is where the bedding section is, or was. And how about this shot of this fixture? You just don't see those anymore. So yeah, I'm gonna make my way down to the 2nd floor and show it's down there. Well, now I've made it down to the second floor of the Bay, Hudson Bay, Downtown Calgary, 10 days to closing. And I think I started off with this urban display, but you can see that parts of the store is now closed. And then a couple records here. So I'm gonna make this one out. If you're a Zeppelin fan, maybe you can buy this fixture. This one just says Angel up there, but more fixtures on sale and high-end brands. I guess you're gonna ask, why would you say that for 355 years the Bay, Hudson's Bay, is closing, going out of business? I mean, me personally, it's been a while since I've shopped at the Bay or bought anything at the Bay. Being a higher end retailer, just don't have the money to spend and all that, but it has felt like the product has declined. Almost feels like Sears in a way, where it didn't seem to evolve or changing landscape, but you could see all these still familiar brands like Calvin Klein. Well, here's another interesting quote. Clothes don't make the man, but they can make the man look great. If you have the bank account for it. But just more fixtures and store fixtures you always see at liquidation sales. There's Tommy Hilfiger. And I never heard of this brand, Hawkins and Kent from London. But the other side of the second floor, that's where they've condensed the merchandise. Obviously, with all the brand names and that, you see more of the clothing. Let me combine, this is 10 days before closing. And you still got those Polo Ralph Lauren signs, but nice to see that if you have the money and want to buy some historical photographs, well, this is how Calgary looked like in 1880 when this community was being established. And there's that church. But kind of incredible how this company evolved from fur trading to being a, all one-in shop. I mean, this building is 6 stories tall. Heard that had a restaurant at the top, and this used to be an all-in-one shop, but people's shopping habits have changed, and I mean, you're starting to see more smaller specialty stores, and of course Amazon, where you people can buy things online what you get on demand. But I guess it's kind of another end of an era, being that me personally, in an era in terms of family members passing, but starting to see the same thing with retail. I'm just always still trying to work around moving subjects, but basically what's not bolted down is home for sale. And can't ever seem to fully make out what that is, but I've seen enough liquidation sales.
Shoppers, have you heard? Fixtures are flying off the floor at half price. And books
Sure.
back to the bucket? Yep, 75% off. It's your moment to grab what you've been eyeing. Sale ends soon, so don't wait.
Yeah, like this. as the intercom says. Oh, mannequins. House looks creepy to see a bunch of mannequins in a place like this. Oh yeah, they're flying off the shelves when they're all $500 each. Even if that's Canadian dollars, as the exchange rate last I checked is still, $1.37 US. That still seems a little lot to be buying for what we call mannequins. Oh, hey, there's a neat space display. As I mentioned when I was up on the third floor, Canadian Tire is buying the brand, at least the brand of Hudson's Bay. So I think you could still see, the stripes, some of the history. Yeah, so Hudson, not say Hudson Bay, the Canadian Tire, it's also Marks and Sport Check, so you might see some of those brands, go over there. But I personally did work at Hudson's Bay myself, not at the Bay, but I worked at Zellers for over 2 years, and Zellers used to be part of the Hudson's Bay Company. They also had Home Outfitters, which you could say is the Canadian version of Bath, Bed & Beyond, which that's also long gone, but I wonder, how's this guy doing? Still looks all distinctive in the Polo Ralph Lauren ad. He's probably a much older, wrinkly guy now, because I've seen this ad for years. But I'm almost at the end of getting the footage of the second floor at the Bay Downtown. Just trying to document, see what's left, but this is the part that hopefully Canadian Tire will still keep with these stripes and that, and I'll make my way down to the main floor, and then I'll walk through the arcade arch part outside. But I have been able to record, no problem, but I'm going to say I'm glad I'm at least documented it my way and sharing pictures as well in this blog, and I go. So I'll see you on the main floor. Well, hey, I'm back. Now I'm on the main floor, the busiest section of the liquidation in the final 10 days for Hudson's Bay, and I didn't know exactly where to start, but just walking around, see some, just historical photographs or reprints. So let's grab that, and hey, how you doing? But this Hudson's Bay Company traces back to fur trading days, and you see reprints of that. This one even highlights, trade post up in Edmonton, but I know that if you go to Heritage Park here in Calgary, they do have a Hudson's Bay post, and it just blew me away that that's where the Bay started. But anything that blows me away, of course, being that I work in the engineering and plant industry, is look at these vintage aesthetics. Yeah, I don't see ceilings like this anymore. Or I don't see blueprints or drawings or a model with this kind of ceiling and this kind of style. This definitely looks like 1970s, and all the fragrance areas down here on the main floor. I just love this drywall and how the light fixtures are mounted up here and just how they shine it. This is another one of the things you just don't see anymore. You've got to wonder, whoever takes over this location, they're probably going to rip this all out and make it look boring beige aesthetics. But this has character. You know, the fragrance counters. Well, obviously everything's all condensed right here. I mean, the lights burnt out here, but I love this trim all around. And if you look at it at a certain angle, you think you're in a spaceship. And luckily, on this side of the main floor, at least that light fixture is working. Of course, more fixtures. Anyone interested in massage tables? Oh yeah, look at that. Let's take that in for a sec. I already took a picture of that, but this looks like, you know, you can use in a setting in a spaceship. You know, if you reboot Star Trek in the bridge. It just, how it looks. But, I mean, there's more fancy, you know, fragrance area. I mean, I do remember down here, there used to also be a watch repair. They were more escalators. As I remember, at times that all 6 floors were used, and I remember at this particular location, all 6 floors went up to eventually electronics, and the escalators got more narrower. There's a bar that's attached to the other side there. I remember the watch repair used to be here, but even this store on the inside has changed a lot from my time when I used to work right downtown and take the C train, so you always sometimes actually take a pit stop in here. And I remember there used to be a basement here, and this is, I think the basement escalators used to be right here. You can see evidence here, and I remember down in the basement, that's where you find like the fine china, and then I think there was a restaurant down there as well. But I think gone are the days of big box stores where it's all one-stop shop. I mean, I heard, you know, in the early last century, it used to be a night or an outing. You know, you went to go get your clothing, get your own furnishings, have some something to eat. I think I heard there was a treat that people used to go have some ice cream at the store as well. And then also around here, this is the main displays. And I know there was also a time that, not too sure who has the contract now. I remember it used to be Roots. And then HBC, Hudson's Bay Company, had the contract for outfitting our Olympic athletes for Canada. And I know that, hey, remember the outfit that Hudson's Bay had, I believe it was in 2008 when the Summer Olympics were in Beijing. Raised some eyebrows, but it kind of mixed in the Canadian and Chinese, you know, design. But you start seeing some relics from the store come out of the woodwork. Like, I'm sure this was used at many Christmas displays. And what was this here? Like I said, there's some brands that I don't recognize that predate me, and I consider myself getting old, being middle-aged. Or, hey, how about an ironing board or a stage light? A little rich for me, and I don't have a big spot anyway, and I'm probably going to still have more stuff coming as my parents are cleaning out my grandmother's place anyway. But I think this is going to conclude my indoor tour. Thankfully I will be walking out in the arches. As you can see, it's raining now outside. I said that's Brookfield Place across the street. Well, yeah, you can see a mashup of all the occasions. Spring, summer. I guess there's fall for the Halloween harvest season. And I still say as time goes on, fall is my favorite season, but I guess to close it up for all the stuff I'm showing with the bay, what memories do you have with the bay? Did you work at the bay, or at least Zellers, Home Outfitters, memories? What do you think about after 355 years? I didn't misspeak. Sometimes you misspeak in videos. 355 years, 1670 until 2025. Hudson's Bay has existed from back the fur trading routes to this format in a big box store. Fortunately, that's it for business. I say Canadian Tire is going to at least buy the brand, and maybe you'll still see the stripes and references to Hudson's Bay at the Canadian Tire, Mark's, Sport Check, as I do shop at those places, mostly Mark's, so maybe there'll still be some relics from the past, but I'd still like to know what's going to happen to this store, this building, when it gets taken over. Well, they rip out all this beautiful vintage aesthetics for boring, beige, bland. So that's why I feel it's important to at least document it. And I say, even myself, not directly at the Bay, but I worked at Zellers for 2 years at the Sunridge Mall location. Store number 433, as I still remember, that it was a part of the Hudson's Bay Company, and I'll also say that I thought that this is kind of remind me of when Sears closed. I have another retail brand that was big in Canada that's similar to the Bay, that had this kind of similar store, all in one big store downtown, is Eaton's. So I think it's just a sign of the times, the economy. I think it's also time to also go outside as kids are screaming, not appreciating the what's around. But let's do one more walk outside in the arcade arches. Not only to stay dry, but just to appreciate this building. So we'll see what's Hey everyone, it's Brett Hornby here, and it was a change of plan as you vlog on the go for the arcade walk. Well, I didn't want to walk down there just to show you the arches, because fortunately part of the being in the big city is big city problems happen, and I didn't want to record. I did see some street people unfortunately down their luck, and some were I think they did overdosed on drugs, and suddenly all 3 levels of our emergency services out, so I just hung around and waited till it all cleared out. But that is my video tour of looking at the Hudson's Bay in downtown Calgary. Liquidation that aside, and of course we got to thank our first responders, all 3 levels, the police, fire, and ambulance, for their service and what they do. That's what happens sometimes when you're vlogging on the go. But I just like this. There's something with this early 1900s architecture that I like, and there's a lot of these flagship stores in all the major cities in Canada that out at the bay, and gotta wonder what's going to happen to this building once the bay moves out. I mean, it's not all used right now, because right now it's just the main, second, and third floors that are used, because the top 3 floors aren't used anymore, and the basement's not used. So you got to wonder where they're going to put. It's a big prime real estate building. But I always want to get back to you and say, what do you think of the bay? Hudson's Bay closing after 355 years. It's I just say it's a combination of changing times in shopping, Amazon, and I'd say the shrinking middle class as well, because I haven't shopped at the bay much over the years, being that I can't afford the higher end stuff, and I have too much stuff still at home, so I haven't had a need to go out, and the fact that I was kind of keep thinking that at this age, the combination of economics, changing shopping landscape. Oh yeah, what meant to come to my mind is all these stores had a hard time just being up to date, because even last year there were some stores, and even I think a few years ago, that when we had that heat wave in the Western Canada, that there were times where stores didn't have their air conditioning working or escalators. I remember that hit the news as well. I'm not too sure if that was even just last summer, but I know that was the case in 2021 when we had that record-breaking heat wave. So, and I feel that kind of also what killed Sears as well, the Canadian chain, and even in the U.S. That I feel like that it hasn't really been up to date, and now you're seeing more specialty small stores and just online, the convenience of hitting up Amazon, and it's just not like what it used to be, that my previous generations now that are passed on, that going to the store downtown used to be a big outing. And I just say I've seen many of these liquidations. I mean, Zellers had its liquidation, but that was because Target thought they were going to do a wholesale invasion up in Canada, and then that didn't work because they expanded too quickly, too fast, and then realizing that at the time Canadians shopped down in Target in the U.S. because at the time economics worked in our favor. That doesn't now with the exchange rate, and you can get stuff down there up here. And then I think Sears back in 2017 going into 2018, the Canadian chain closed down for good, because I just say just behind the times, and the higher end retailer changing demographics. And then I just say the bay, it's just next. It's just unfortunately it's after 355 years. May 2nd, 1670, North America's oldest company was formed, all traced back to the fur trade. And I also recall that Hudson's Bay used to be Rupert's Land. If you're familiar with the map of Canada, there's that body of water north of Ontario and Quebec, and before the archipelago. It's now none of it, but a lot of Canada used to be the Northwest Territories, and to say it's a shame to see it go, but it's nice to see the Canadian Tire. I mean, it was just a couple weeks ago that for $30 million, and Canadian Tire is still actually doing well, managed well. I mean, you could say that's another reason why Hudson Bay has gone down, but the Canadian Tire intent is to maintain the brand, and so maybe you'll see those, plastic stripes on merchandise in the future at Canadian Tire stores or Marks or Sport Check, and I just say I worked under the banner of Hudson's Bay, not at the Bay directly, but Zellers. When you could say Zellers is like the Canadian Walmart, the all-in-one big box store, and I mean Zellers also failed to evolve. I'm going to say just had a hard time competing with Walmart after when Walmart set up shop in Canada back in 1994. But I just say it's just another change in the generation, both in the retail landscape and as well personally in my life, especially then in a couple weeks I turned 43. So hopefully you enjoyed my whole vlog on the go with Hudson's Bay. I was able to get my indoor footage on the video. I took several pictures, tried to have some clever selfies along the way, and the final outside part just didn't exactly work out, but I just didn't want to get that on camera and all that. So I'll close out. If you want to follow along with this Calgary sports fans journey, just make sure you hit like, subscribe. I have my other social links down in the description below, including my favorite shots that I took from Hudson's Bay. But I guess this particular location, not too sure if it's all locations in Calgary. I'm assuming that this is the feeder store that all the merchandise is coming here. That's Sunday, June the 1st. If they say today, it's Friday, May the 23rd. I'm recording this in 2025. The final 10 days. So that brings you up to Sunday, June the 1st. And I believe nationwide, it's end of June that Hudson's Bay needs to vacate its properties to, complete the liquidation and bankruptcy. But it is what it is. But let's just say 355 years stand in line. So I just want to say thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.